Welcome back to A Christmas Conversation. You just watched the final ghost installment of the story, The Ghost of Christmas Yet to Come. I'm here with the star of the show, News Channel 8 anchor Cate, joining us here in a virtual recreation of your barn theater.
They did a great job, didn't they?
Yeah, up at Cate Farms in Tennessee, your home, of course, during when you're not doing the news here in Tampa, Florida.
Family home.
Yeah, the family home. And as we now get into really, do you consider this the climax of the story when, of course, we're getting to the grave site where Ebenezer Scrooge is putting it all together in his mind when he realizes that that is his name. We're getting really now to the moment of clarity for Scrooge, no?
Right. Yeah, I think this is the kind of that spiritual part of the show where Scrooge realizes as he gets to the end that life has not been good if it plays out this way, because this is a ghost of Christmas yet to come. He's beginning to show him things that are going to unfold, and it doesn't look good for Scrooge, especially when he gets to the grave site and he has to deal with the obvious realization that he's the one that is here on a neglected grave, because it's a place where no one comes to visit, no one cares about, and he is long since forgotten. But yeah, so this is the scary part of the show, I think, a little bit for a lot of people. You have to really put yourself, and this is where creativity comes in handy for people who are watching, at least the show we're doing, because obviously we don't have a big ghost coming out in a robe or anything, but you use your mind's eye to recreate what this fearful thing is that might be coming for you, that does not speak, it only points, and maybe if you're lucky you get a nod of the head, and that's all. So yeah, this is the part of the show where Scrooge is beginning to realize that, boy, something's got to change. Please, please, let something change here.
And he's watching everybody around, just the way that this person is being treated, and really the aftermath of his life. It's all becoming clear to him in this moment that the things that he held with such tremendous value in his life really doesn't have that much value, right? Because we're talking about somebody who's hoarded so much wealth over the back end of his life, especially.
Right. He's become alone. He has become isolated. And he's become unaware or uncaring about what other people have thought. That's the Ebenezer Scrooge that's going on this process of being able to get a second chance. He wants a second chance badly. He wants Tiny Tim to have a second chance. He wants the Cratchits to have a second chance. Freddie, he wants everything to change. Now, you can't change the past, but you can change your present. And when you think of the scene that comes to mind where Tiny Tim, spoiler, is dead in this scene, and you feel, even the audience kind of go along on this journey. You feel what Scrooge feels. He feels tremendous sadness and regret as Bob Cratchit breaks down and comes to acknowledge that his son is not going to be there, and that there's nothing he can do about it. And Scrooge is watching this unfolding. And why? Why does it have to be this way? The scene where the clothes of a man who has died is being sold off, and Scrooge is beginning to realize they're talking about me. Yeah. They're taking down my bed curtains, my everything I own, rings and all, and selling them, shirts, and taking it off his corpse. What terrible things. A man dies and you do this to him, and now, oh my gosh, it's me. It's me. I should have done something differently. Please, please let me have a second chance.
So this story reaches this big moment in your performance where you have to make it very, very clear to the audience that when he looks down at the tombstone, and I love the way that you really get into the name Ebenezer Scrooge, and that's the striking moment when you're there and you're performing that moment. That moment, of course, I can only imagine you have a tremendous sense of responsibility to do that moment justice.
Right, you don't want to mess it up.
You don't want to mess that.
Everybody knows that scene.
That's the moment, right?
Right.
And then you have the audience. How does the audience react in that moment when you're doing it live in front of them at your farms in
They're
Tennessee?
attentive. They're very attentive, and they're aware of what's happening. And I think that even if you know the someone they brought with them, oh, are you watching? Let's just watch what happens here. But I think hopefully, my hope is that as an audience person, they're so absorbed in the context of the dialogue that was written by Charles Dickens that they're watching a performance, but they're also reading into this what it means in their life. What would I be going through in this process? What regrets might I have? What things do I need to change before I end up looking at a grave? Because no one gets out alive. Another spoiler. We all eventually face this end. How do we want to be remembered, and how do we want our lives to play out? And the audience, they're good. They're attentive. They're watching and they're observing, and as I go down, I'm just envisioning in my mind as well just what that must be to be alone, looking at the end of your life and seeing this grave that no one even bothers to take care of, and it's like, that's my name. That's it.
That's what I become.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
So as we get set up for the emotional turn in the story, obviously, and another spoiler, by the way, spoiler, the emotional turn in the story where Scrooge realizes that he has to change his life around and treat people with love and with respect, and you see this frown quite literally turn upside down. How central is this moment to the story itself?
Well, it's the key turning point, no doubt about it. But it's all encompassing when you go back and you think about what has transpired to get us to this point where Scrooge is looking at his name on a grave. All of this, and again, this is Charles Dickens at his brilliant best, has taken you along on this journey. And Charles Dickens, is reflecting upon things that have happened in his life. If you go back and you look at Charles Dickens, when he was about 12 years old, his father John was put in debtor's prison by a Scrooge. In fact, not only did John go into
because he owed money.
Because he owed money and he couldn't repay it, and his father had squandered the money, and they came to the family, and all of Charles Dickens' family were sent to, debtor's prison, except for Charles Dickens. Where did he go? He went to work as a boy at 12 in a shop, where he was treated with, disrespect and child labor. There were no child labor laws. So all of this is what Dickens is bringing out in this story, and it's all culminating with getting to the end of where what could have happened and changed if life were different and people were kind and helped other people. Scrooge being one who could help other people, but also just in general, this idea of the Cratchit family who's hanging in there despite losing now a son. They're going to be okay. I'm happy, Bob Cratchit says. I'm happy. I'm happy. Biting his tongue because he has to be happy.
Right.
Because he has to be there for the family. Just because a child dies doesn't mean you fold up the tent and it's over for everybody. No, there's another day. He has to carry on. So this is heavy for the audience. We've been on this journey, and now Scrooge is just dealing with the consequences of it all, and it's in his face.
So a theme of this story, no doubt, is doing acts of kindness for others and paying it forward, and not thinking so much about yourself and thinking about the others, in your life around you. I watched this last night, or I was watching some adaptations of the story last night. I had already seen your performance and doing some homework for our interview conversations here. And as I'm watching and really getting into the mind of Charles Dickens, or at least doing my best to, and watching the story unfold, I feel this overwhelming sense of, I need to be a better person. Mm-hmm. I think that's a big part.
It's convicting.
It is. It's a big part of this story. So this morning I was driving into work. I passed a Dunkin' Donuts. I said, I'm picking up a dozen donuts. They're not a sponsor on this program, by the way. They're not. I just picked up a dozen donuts for some folks at the station just because I wanted to do something nice for someone other than myself. Do you get that from people, that they get wrapped up into this story, the story of Scrooge, and then by the end of it they feel like they want to do something nice for somebody else?
I hope so, and I think that's the whole point of the story, and it's one of the key reasons I wanted to do the story, because I mean, obviously we wanted something that would be, traditional for people to come back and enjoy and experience that Christmas feeling, but also not just a feeling, but something that changes them to become a selfless person, because we all of us have all of these characters in us. Whether we're Scrooge and we're selfish at times, or whether we're selfless and we give, like Freddie, like you played the role of Freddie. You go out and you get donuts. Freddie never let Scrooge bring him down.
Right.
And Freddie invited him back to dinner and begged him to come to dinner and be a part of the games and a part of the feast. He never gave up. And that's what I think the message is for others who leave. It's like, I want to be And as we're going to see, I mean, Scrooge does alter his life. He does become a better man. In fact, he becomes a great man in the community, as Charles Dickens writes it out. But without the transformation, you're going to go along and you'll have the same outcome. If you're a selfish, self-centered, isolated person who refuses to do anything for anybody else, then that's a choice. But those choices have consequences. And unfortunately, you'll have to live those out until you're on the gravestone somewhere.
Is that the timelessness component of this story? Why this story has persisted on and gets retold over and over and over again, whether it's inside of a barn theater at your farms, or whether it's on Netflix or something that grand. It's a story that has endured generation after generation. Do you think that that's why?
Yeah, I think it's why, because I think I think that's why you redo it over and over and over again. It's almost like Pygmalion or something, My Fair Lady. It's the same story told over. Romeo and Juliet. It's Romeo and Juliet, or it's this Pygmalion. But you see it every day. It's the same storyline. A Christmas Carol has a storyline. You can paint it up with different characters, but the rise and fall and rebuilding of characters is thematic. Through history. And so, I think it stands the test of time in that regard. But I think especially at Christmas, because people, and the holidays in general, they just want to feel that warmth of family and camaraderie and friendship.
Cratchit way.
They Cratchit way, whether it's family or with friends, definitely. And you know what? It's a reminder to reach out to someone else. You may be sitting in the audience and you're watching and you're saying, I have a friend who's kind of quiet and they're not going to help themselves. Maybe I need to reach out, knock on a door, hello, how are you? And be kind to people. Scrooge didn't even, he didn't even make eye contact. Some people just don't make eye contact with you. Yeah. Maybe that's just the first thing. Start making eye contact with people. Say hello to people. Whether it's a happy holidays, Merry Christmas, or whether it's just a simple hello, goodbye, and some kind word. That's a start. It's a start.
Well, if you see either of us anywhere, Keith, Cate, or JB Biunno.
And JB has donuts apparently.
I do. Come by for a donut, a Christmas donut. Of course, watch the full performance and you'll see for yourself just how you can really get encapsulated in the moment of Charles Dickens' writing, A Christmas Carol by Charles Dickens, as performed by News Channel 8 anchor Keith Cate. You can see the entirety of the performance on the free News Channel 8 app for your Apple TV, Roku, Fire TV, whatever it may be, your device or television platform of choice. And our Christmas conversations all live on the app as well. We're coming up on the conclusion of our story, part 6.
Ooh, what's going to happen?
Keith Cate will tell you. I'm JB Biunno. Merry Christmas, everybody. We'll see you next time for the final installment.